Okay, so I'll sort of start from the beginning. As I said, my dad and I played basketball all the time when I was younger. That was my dad's biggest thing. My dad thought I was going to play in the NBA. He went to every single one of my games. He shot with me every single day. He would take me to gyms every single day so we could shoot around at gyms. We would drive around, find gyms, and my dad would find secret ways to get into gyms. And then he made half-court basketball court for me, and we did basketball all the time. He thought I was going to play in the NBA. Now, the thing is, like I said, around the time when I was going, around the 7th grade, my dad wanted me to start shooting overhead. So I was doing that, and my shot was good. And even if you look at the beginnings of me shooting overhead, it was very good form. Everything was good. But my dad, at the same exact time, got a thing called a shoot-away machine where you pick the ball off of a rack and shoot. Now, that made it so I couldn't step into it right, so I couldn't shoot as my dad wanted me to shoot sideways. Now, when I shot with my dad, my grandpa would be like, "Well, Ryan, why do you expect your dad to be able to help you?" But because my whole life, whenever I would shoot, which was every day with my dad would always tell me if there's anything wrong with my shot. He would say, "Ryan, your feet are too wide," or "Ryan, shoot more sideways." Now, I was automatic, so when you say shoot more sideways, I didn't really know what I was doing exactly, but I would just kind of move my body a little bit more sideways, and I would be making it more, right? I'm not going to go into details about everything, so I don't want to make good shooters think. But my dad would tell me if there's anything wrong. "Ryan, you're not shooting with enough rainbow. Ryan." So I never had to think about my shot. And that's why I was so good, because everything I did was unconscious. I never had to think because my dad. But then when I got the shoot-away machine, it started messing up my shot. And I can go into details exactly how, when I was picking the ball off the rack, how it distorted it. Then my dad, he knew how to fix little things, like if I wasn't shooting with enough rainbow. But then my dad was like, "Well, Ryan, shoot more sideways." And then he started to try to manipulate my shot. And I think it's because I was shooting overhead. He was thinking it was because I was shooting overhead, but no, it wasn't. If you look at the original videos of me shooting overhead, I was shooting perfect form. I was shooting good. It wasn't because I was shooting overhead that was the problem. It was because of how I was picking the ball off the rack and how you can't step into it correctly to make yourself shoot sideways. It's all about how you move into shots. That's how all shooting is. So, and that messed me up, and then that led to problems because now my grandpa was like, "Well, Ryan, the reason why you had problems with your dad," this is what he said when I was inquired, "the reason you had problems with your dad was because you're playing as bigger, better players and you got frustrated and you took out your frustration on your dad." That's what my grandpa wanted to think. No, because even in the 7th grade, when I was the MVP of the team, I won the championship. I was going to be playing, even then my shot was getting messed up. And me and my dad were fighting because my dad was like, "Ryan, why aren't you shooting sideways? What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just shooting. I don't think when I shoot. I'm just shooting, Dad." And and we were getting frustrated, and it led to altercations. My dad would be yelling at me, and I'd be screaming, because I'd be upset. Like, what? I don't know what's wrong. I didn't know. I didn't know it was a shoot-away machine. And even then, my dad took me to the psychiatrist. But the psychiatrist didn't give me any medicine. But, we were getting in arguments and it was fights. This was in the 7th grade. But I know it was because it was a shoot-away machine. And that was the problem. Now, he thought that there was something wrong with my shot. And he thought there was something wrong with me. And he probably thought it was because I was shooting overhead now. And he was frustrated. But it wasn't. It was because of the shoot-away machine. It's how it's moving. And I can go into details. I wish I could show you details, but I don't want to make good shooters think. But it was because of the shoot-away machine, and that's the thing. Now, and I emphasize that so much because I know my mom and dad and my grandpa want to think it was something wrong with me. My mom says, first off, I want to explain to my mom, no, it wasn't because I was. My mom says because I was under too much pressure and I became mentally ill and I lost it. No, because if she's looking at high school when she would go to my games, she'd be like, "What's wrong with you? Why can't you shoot, Ryan? What happened to you?" And, she came up with all these conclusions. Was it because you were raped by the P. Miller Ballers? No. Was it because of, what's wrong with you? Oh, my God. And then her ultimate conclusion was, well, it's because you can't handle the pressure and you just folded and you became mentally ill because you can't handle pressure. No, I was always excellent under pressure. That's why I was so good. I was excellent because I was unconscious. And that's the reason why the shoot-away machine messed me up so much, because I was always unconscious. I automatically aligned to what was perfect, But she's like, what? But regardless, I still had the swag flow all the way through college, but I lost it in college, and I'll get to that. And it's because of, I think, my family abandoning me again, But my mom was like, "Oh, what happened to you?" It happened in the 7th grade. I wasn't under a ton of pressure in the 7th. No, it was a shoot-away machine. Now my dad, he I don't know. He thinks that I just might, he might think it was because you're a white guy or because you're shooting. My uncle was like, well, Ryan, have you ever stopped to think maybe your shot got messed up because you're a white guy? No, it was because of shoot away machine. My dad's like, my dad, I don't know what my dad thought, but I think that my dad would understand now. But my point is, if it wasn't for the shoot away machine, none of it would have happened. But what ended up happening was, because my shot was messed up, and then things started going bad, and then like I said, in my freshman year of high school, I was a starting point guard on varsity as a freshman. Now, like I said, I was MVP in soccer, MVP in baseball. I was an MVP in everything because I was the best at everything. I was automatic, unconscious. But, I was a starting point guard on varsity as a freshman. And, and like I said, gold medals in track, gold medals, silver medals only. But I was an MVP I was a starting point guard as a freshman. We won the CIF championship. But like I said, my sophomore year, because my shot was so messed up, I lost a starting spot. And my dad freaked out. My mom freaked out. Oh my God, what happened? Was it because Leah said something bad to the coach's daughter? Oh my God, we need to make Ryan go to another school. I wasn't even upset. I just wanted to fix my shot. I wanted to figure out what was wrong with my shot. That was it. And that's what my grandpa thinks. My grandpa thinks, my grandpa was in Kauai this whole time. He didn't know. My grandpa thinks, you must have wanted to, you must have been upset with your dad and taking out your frustration on your dad. No, all I wanted was to figure out my shot. And that's what they say about Enneagram 5W4s. My grandpa wants to make me out to be a bad guy. Like, probably because of your ego, you wanted to be the best. And because you weren't the best, you were taking out your frustration on your dad. No. I am an Enneagram 5W4. I don't care about being the best. I care about knowledge, knowing. And I'm being completely honest. What I wanted was, I wanted to know, like, what is wrong with my shot? What is going on? How do I fix my shot? And that's what my dad offered. My dad, my whole life, he would tell me, Ryan, your feet are too wide, or Ryan, and I felt like I needed him. And I didn't know the shoot away machine was what was messing up my shot, me picking the ball off the rack. I didn't know that at the time. It took me till college when I was looking at videos when I figured that out. But that's all I wanted. I wanted to know. I wanted to understand, like, what's going on. And so I'm like, Dad, come on, please help me. Yes, I wanted to know, but I also did, I did want to fix my shot because I didn't know what I was doing because I was always unconscious. And I felt like I needed my dad because my dad always helped me. My dad grandpa was like, Ryan, why would you think that you needed your dad? Like, always trying to make me blame the bad guy, make me the bad guy. Why would you, your dad never played basketball? Like for some crazy reason, I felt like I needed my dad. Like it came out of the blue for some bizarre, crazy reason because I'm a psycho. No, it's because my dad always helped me. My whole life, he always would tell me. That's why I never had to think, because my whole life since I was a little kid, my dad would always be in the backyard. Ryan, you need to shoot a little more arc. Or Ryan, be a little more sideways. Ryan, your feet are too wide. And he always did that. So I felt like I needed him, So, and I did need him, and the thing was I never really needed him then too much. I did need him, but not too much because, like I said, I didn't think. That's why I was so good. But once the shoot away machine messed up my shot, and I can go to details about what it did, me picking the ball off the rack, it's all about how you have your feet and how you move into it. Once that happened, I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to fix it until 2019 when I was playing with Compton College, when the coach started helping me fix things a little bit, and he told me what to do, how to put my feet and everything. And I started watching videos and I started figuring things out more, but I wanted videos, but I'll get to that more later. But that was another big problem, was because my grandpa, after the conflict happened with me and my dad, the fighting, because basically the premise, the basic essential thing that happened was I needed help from my dad, and I'd be like, Dad, come on, let's shoot a little bit more. My dad, after I lost my starting spot, he was really mad at me. And he was just like, no, I can't help you anymore. You suck now. I can't help you. There's no use. Every time I help you, your shot goes bad again. Yeah, because of the shoot away machine, But I felt like I needed his help. And then, so I'm like, Dad. And then that's when my grandpa comes in from Kauai, and he's like, well, Ryan, you just need to accept bad calls, and you need to understand everything is just fine. Not everything was just fine. It was a shoot away machine. Not everything was just fine. But he's like, you just, if your dad doesn't want to help you, you just have to accept bad calls. But I needed my dad's help. And that's where, and then my mom's like, yeah, Ryan, you just need to accept bad calls. You're trying to make things, you just want to get your way. You just want to get your way. And my grandpa's like, yeah, you just want to get your way, Ryan. You can't always get your way, in the world. Yeah. So my grandpa's thinking he's giving me sage advice, but this was a tragic situation. If it wasn't, and like I say, if it wasn't for the shoot away machine, none of this would have happened. But they're trying to make me out to be some sort of crazy lunatic who can't accept bad calls and accept things and just understand that everything's just fine. And I just need to, let go of my anxiety and everything's just fine. No, I was always a perfect person, dude. I was the best. I was the best in school, straight A's always. I always got straight A's. I was the best at basketball, the best at baseball. But it wasn't something wrong with me. It was the shoot away machine was an environmental factor that led to some chaos, led to terrible things. But my grandpa comes in and he's thinking like, oh, Ryan just needs and what Ryan really wants is independence. And my mom's like, yeah, he wants independence. That's what he wants. Get him out of our lives. And my dad's like, yeah, get him out of our, he just wants independence. Get him out. So I was basically thrown to the side, and everyone made me out to be the bad guy, thrown to the side. And then I just need to accept bad calls and accept everything is just fine. And and then my grandpa's trying to give me the sage, like his metapsychiatry, spiritual wisdom. Everything's just fine. But it wasn't just fine. It was a shoot away machine. But my grandpa didn't know that. He's thinking, Ryan just playing against bigger, better players, and he just got frustrated and took it out on his dad. And no, it was a shoot away machine. I just wanted to fix my shot, and I didn't know it was the shooting machine that was messing it up. I figured that out in college, and it took me to 2019 to fix my shot and to get videos. But the other thing that happened was my grandpa was like, well, and also, because my dad beat me up because I needed to fix my shot, but we needed his help, but it was a frustrating situation. And like I said, my dad always thought I was going to play in the NBA, and he was frustrated with me, So, but then my grandpa's like, well, Ryan, never talk about the past, because I was beat up and stuff. He's like, well, don't talk about the past, because if you're in the flow, you never bring up the past. You never, and that, you're not in the past. You're in the eternal moment. So then when I figured it out in college, that it was a shoot away machine that messed up my shot, I wanted to talk to my dad. But, I never did because I knew I wasn't allowed to talk about the past. But I remember one time I visited my dad in college, and I never even brought up the shoot away machine at that point. My dad was like, if you bring up anything about the past, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to have my dog rip you apart, my new dog, my pit bull or whatever, my Rottweiler. So I knew I was never allowed to talk about the past. But you see, my grandpa tried to do some like sage, like spiritual stuff, but it was a tool against me, and that's where I think I also became more leftist, because I was like, and they do the same thing to black people or to people who are colonized, like they say, don't talk about the past, and I'm like, no, but the past is important. But in my case, it was like, I don't have anything negative to say about the past. I just know that you guys demonized me. I'm demonized. You guys see me as a bad guy and stuff, but I recognize. When I was in college, I saw the videos. It's like, if it wasn't, I saw that the shoot away machine was a mess up my shot, and I'm recognizing it wasn't me. It was a tragic situation. Now can we move on? But no, they can't, because they have contempt for me now. But the problem was, then I discovered the quadrant model, and I tried to show my mom and dad the quadrant model, and then they're like, my mom's like, oh, you have schizophrenia, because she already had contempt for me. She already won. And I feel like the reason why she wanted to believe I had schizophrenia was because a part of it was then she could tell herself, oh, so all the abuse we did to you, that wasn't because we are bad people. It was because you are defective, bad human beings. She's like, you have schizophrenia. You need to see a fucking doctor. Oh my God, I can't believe I have a son who has schizophrenia. And I'm like, I don't have schizophrenia, Mom. I really discovered an incredible theory. She's like, no, oh my God, you have schizophrenia. You need to see a doctor as soon as possible. Start taking medicine. I'm like, no, I don't. So that was the one time. Now people think that I probably see my mom and dad a lot of times, and that they have a justified reason to believe I have schizophrenia. They saw me 2 or 3 times in college, 2 or 3 times. And since then, they haven't seen me ever. They haven't had physical interaction with me, except for the one time when they tried to go to my grandma's house and kick me out and get the police to send me to a psych ward. They haven't seen me. So I know that people believe like, oh, well, if your parents think you have schizophrenia, you must be, they must have a lot of interaction with you, and they must have a real justification for that. But they don't recognize that it's not healthy, and my parents don't have any interaction with me, because since high school, since the time they threw me out because of the shoot away machine and the tragedy that happened there, they've had a contempt for me and a hatred for me, and they haven't allowed me to see them. They've thrown me to the side, and it's had a toll on me. It's had a very detrimental toll on me, So, but yeah, so and they had a contempt for me in college. My mom had a hatred for me, and they've had a hatred for me ever since that time. And like I said, what they have is it's this thing of where you just and I'll get to where it goes to today. So like an example would be like, now I want to see my mom and dad and my grandpa, because my grandpa has cancer, and I'm going to get to this whole cancer thing on the next lecture. But I want to talk to my grandpa. My grandpa's like, or I want to see them, and I want to see my mom and dad, and my grandpa's like, oh, you just want to get your way. You just want to get your way. That's it. And I'm like, no, I want to see my mom and dad. I've wanted to see them for, you just want to get your way. That's all that's all you, and it's like, of course I want to get my way, but what he's trying to be is like some spiritual thing, like, rather than get your way, just be one with the universe and just be in the flow, and you don't want your way, you want God's way, but God is energy, and don't try to make things happen, and just be in the flow. Yeah, and the reason why he's that way is because again, they're all stuck in the past. They're all thinking of me in high school with the shoot away machine, and they're like, my mom's like, oh, you have obsessive compulsive disorder. No, it was the shoot away machine. If it wasn't for the shoot away machine, none of that would have happened. Maybe I do have a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder. Maybe I do have a little bit. I don't, but maybe I am a little bit obsessive and stuff. But that is actually healthy. It can be good. But the only reason why the tragedy and the turmoil happened was because of the shoot away machine. So but they're still stuck in that, because at that time, yeah, I wanted to get my way. I wanted to help with my shot. I wanted to figure it out. What's going on? I needed help. My dad helped me my whole life. My grandpa's like, oh, why did you think you needed your dad? I'm going to blame you. You're to blame the victim. And you shouldn't have thought that you needed your dad. I did need my dad. He helped me my whole life, and I didn't know what was going on with my shot with the shoot away. So, but my grandpa's like, I'm trying to see my mom and dad now. And I've been trying to for years, and they haven't seen me since high school, really. They've seen me a couple times in college, and I'm like, I'd like to see mom and dad. And he's like, well, you don't. You just want to get your way. That's what you want. And it stems back from their contempt for me from high school, when the tragedy happened, when the shoot away messed up my shot, and I needed help from my dad. And they're like, you just want to get your way. You can't always get your way. You need to accept bad calls. You need to accept things. If your dad doesn't want to help you, you need to accept that. And like I said, that was a tragedy. It would never happen if it wasn't for the shooting machine. All the bad stuff wouldn't have happened. Nothing wrong with me, but they're still like that. They still have a hatred for me, and it's like, you just want to get your way. That's it. You need to. And so when I talk to my mom, my mom barely ever talks to me. And whenever I talk to my mom, she'll hang up on me in the middle of conversation, which is ironic, because I remember when I was younger, she was talking to her mom one time, and her mom hung up on her, and my mom was like, I hate when my mom hangs up on me. But my mom always does that. I never get a chance to talk to my mom, because I try to tell her, Mom, can I talk to you? Can I see you and Dad? Can I talk to you? And she just hangs up on me. She says, no, we're never going to see you. You have to accept that. But she gets that from, again, because she's stuck in the shoot away. Because at the time, my grandpa came in, and my grandpa's like, oh, everything, Ryan, what happens is all that Ryan needs to do, first off, Ryan just wants independence. That's not true. And then my mom was like, yeah, just make him independent. But Ryan just wants independence. And he also just has to learn to accept bad calls. And, you can't always get your way. And, and you just need to accept bad calls. And so my mom's like, you need to accept things. And, understand that everything is just fine, and accept things. And so, because he's trying to do this sage advice. So my mom's like, yeah, Ryan, we're never going to see you. You just have to accept that. That's just something that you have to accept. So that's her fucking go-to line. She thinks that she's like regurgitating some sage wisdom from my grandpa. And the other thing, like, I'll give another thing that she says is, she says this last time when I tried to talk to her, she's like, Ryan, you just have to accept it. And I'm like, but why? Why do I have to accept that? She's like, I don't need to give a reason. And the reason why she says that is because this is what my grandpa would do. He would be like, he would say, after the bad stuff happened, I'll get into this, but my grandpa would be like, when the fights that I would have with my grandpa, I would be like, Grandpa, I would like to talk to Dad and see Mom and Dad. And my grandpa and I would get in an argument about that. And then my grandpa would be like, I'm not going to teach you anymore. I'm not going to teach you anymore because, because of your software, because of your ego software system. It's not high enough. You're still in dualistic software. So I'd be like, come on, Grandpa, but I want to learn from him, because he would just confuse me, and I wanted to learn more, and he would be like, dualistic software, but I didn't understand what he's talking about. So he just confused me, I'd be like, is that a hippie thing? I don't know. So I would want to study with him more, and I'd be like, Grandpa, why? Why won't you study with me? And he'd be like, I don't need to give a reason, and now I know, and he would later teach me the reason why he would say that is because he says, when you give reasons, that is self-confirmatory, because there is no self. And when you give a reason, that just leads to argument, because you give your reason, and then the person can argue with it. But Jesus said, just make your yes a yes or your no a no, and don't give any reasons, because when you give reasons, that can lead to argument, and argument is self-confirmatory. But my grandpa even admits that my mom and dad should talk to me. He says that they're stubborn, and he thinks that my mom is immature. And I'll get to that, how my grandpa has no respect for my mom, but he thinks that they're immature and it's self-confirmatory. But my grandpa would be like, I don't need to give reasons because it's self-confirmatory. But my mom, again, she mimics. She parrots my grandpa, but she doesn't have any understanding. So she's like, no, you just have to accept it. And I don't need to give a reason. But hers is very, what my grandpa would say, self-confirmatory. It's based around immaturity. And my grandpa would say, when she would be calling me schizophrenic, and, she'd call me a freak. I was telling her like, Mom, I'd like to talk, I'd like to see Grandpa. And my mom's like, no, you're a freak. Last time, the reason why last time your grandpa stopped talking to you is because all you do is talk about the quadrant model, and you're just a fucking freak loser. You're a freak. And my grandpa's like, yeah, your mom is very immature, the way that she calls you names and stuff. And my grandpa said that she calls everybody names. She called my uncle names, and he says she's very immature and she expresses dualistic software. But my point is like, my mom parrots my grandpa says that he casts pearls of swine. He says my mom misuses his teachings. So he's like, you just have to accept it. You just you have to accept it, and you have to. And I don't need to give a reason. And he would say, yes, I have a higher consciousness and understanding of that, but she just misinterprets it. But my grandpa doesn't, and I'm gonna get to that. But my grandpa acts like he's like like he has like some sort of higher consciousness and but no, I'll get to that in the next lecture. But